What's happening with Puffy? I know you're not really tapped in, but what is
the last thing I saw was like a guy there. He was like, yo, he like pushed me into the truck. It really hurt. And he sounded me. Like he sounded me. I was like, yo, look, I could find other things to do.
From the moment this entire storm erupted, nobody could have predicted just how deep the cracks ran beneath the surface. One moment, the entire digital world was quiet.
Did you see the video? For money. Bro, I'm not sure I can say that for money. Like somebody pushed
How much is this guy trying to get?
I don't know. Like it's a simple suit situation, but it's like
20 mil, I could say it.
You still have to black his face out. You still have to mimic his voice because he's like,
but his
damn.
voice wasn't even that different.
And that a little deeper. I was like, almost like, no, that's you, young buck.
Yo,
I almost felt like it was him. I almost knew who it was. You know what I mean? I was like, nah, that's Buck. You trying to get money right.
Yo, you can't say that dudes are having sex with other dudes, bro. The internet might come for you.
Yeah, you can say sweet love.
Yeah, you gotta say make sweet love.
That's young buck breaking right there.
Make sweet love.
There's rules to rap beef now, bro.
Not
in your day.
Well, I'm saying like, God, man,
good.
why is your homeboy so close to you when you come out of there? Look like you guys just made sweet love. I'm gonna say sweet love instead of anything that says.
To me, that's better because they're gonna try to make it something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was smart. Like I didn't think about that. I say things that are borderline. Like I'm like, oh my God, you're in trouble.
You?
Like all the time. Because I just say.
Nah, but you got close when he offered to take you shopping.
Yeah, you see, now Mika's in the same shirt. He's out there in the same shirt. This is not Photoshop.
Shit.
This is really happening. I'm just saying to you. No, stop it. Look, you set that up. Look, you set that up. He's in the same shirt.
What do you mean he's in the same shirt?
Obviously was not offended by what I was offended by. This is what I'm saying, bro. I'm like, nah, it was odd. Like, this is some of the things that people say. Like, girls, guys may say to a girl, let me take a shot. See?
Damn.
They found it that quick.
What do you think is happening in the middle?
I don't know what is going on.
Wow,
there.
they found Kendrick and Wifey.
You can't dress up Kendrick like that. You can't dress him up like that.
No, it's jokes.
That's like the white chicks movie, bro. You can't do that.
Yeah, that was comedy. That was good.
Yeah, but that
get away with Wifey.
That's obviously doing shopping. They got the same outfit.
Yeah, it's true.
In public.
Yeah,
that's a nice shirt. That was a nice shirt.
All right, so when he said the shopping line in real life, what did you say?
I said, let me get away from him. Because he was like, yo, you hot now. Now we gotta hang out now. Like hang out.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know, man. I take you shopping and I get you some flash and you could give me the hood shit. And I was looking and I was like, let me just move away from him because I'm gonna mess up the wedding. I always say to myself,
it was someone's wedding?
It was Chris Lighty's wedding. He's in Miami. Nori's there. Nori knows this because I looked at him like, yo. You heard what he just said, right? He's like, yo, certain things they let it go by because it's Puff. Like they would look, like he would say stuff, and it's like he wasn't like in the closet, he was like in the hallway. Now you see so much shit that you go, wait. No, this was visible,
He was in the hallway. We saw the video.
You see
We saw that video.
It comes out later. You're like, that's not the closet. That's the hallway. He didn't give a fuck. Like, you can tell that he was already...
Nah, New York is dope. Because when Fab, he was like, yo, Fab, we ain't party. Fab was like, nah, we partying tonight.
He's like, no, but he didn't party.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, they let that one go? Like, I had to say something about it later because I was like, oh, it was fair.
What does it feel like all these years, you being the only one calling this out?
I look like I've been the crazy guy for a long time.
They said you're a hater.
Scrolling through its usual chaos, and then in an instant everything flipped upside down. A single voice, a single drop of information, a single spark ignited an explosion that tore through the industry like a shockwave. And what followed wasn't just outrage, wasn't just disbelief, there was a sense of something far heavier. Something darker, something people had always suspected but never had enough proof to say out loud, until now. Because what came out wasn't some light rumor, wasn't some harmless gossip, wasn't even a dramatic exaggeration. It was a vault being ripped open, a vault full of things that were never meant to see the light of day. And once the door swung open, there was no closing it again. People rushed in from every corner of the internet, dissecting every detail, connecting every dot. piecing together a picture nobody wanted to believe but everyone instantly recognized. The atmosphere shifted, the panic started, the silence of those involved grew louder than any statement. And the one responsible for triggering all of this
Do this, yeah, and now everybody's complaining. My ass is hurting. Like, there's all this shit that's coming.
50, you can't make jokes about it.
No.
The internet might come for you, bro.
All I'm saying
It
is,
might come from you.
you see it now. All of these complaints. People were damn, they were and pillaged. This was never going on, right? And what do I get for the? I went through years of a hater. You're a hater. You want this and that. I'm just watching. Like I look at things and go, when you see the new lawsuit coming with Jay, the part with Jay, I go, oh shoot, like. Then I think about it, I go, that had to be there. So when I was saying that he was missing. He just wasn't actively being out there because they was dealing with that.
Wait, do you think there's truth to the Jay thing? There's no way.
Like that, look, you know, like if you say, I have this thing where I'm conflicted when it takes you 20 years to remember something happened to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I go also 10 years, 20 years later, that comes back. And it's like all of Puff's problems are coming from the ministers touching little boys.
What you mean?
The laws are the way they are because
Because
Because of the priests.
the priests touching little boys.
Oh.
Why are they looking at me, bro? I
That's
just go to church. I just go to church, right? I have nothing to do with this. I have an alibi.
That's why the laws allow them to go that far back.
Turn away from you right there.
I'm just a Catholic kid. Come on.
You've been diddled, dude.
No.
What's the body of Christ taste like?
That's sacrilegious. You can't do that.
He's like, yo, drink my blood.
Yo,
So it is crazy when after 20 years they come out. That shit is foul.
But with Puffy, you were the only one saying anything for decades.
yeah, because we had our own little thing.
But you were the only.
was
Everybody
your
else
thing?
was scared.
Huh?
But everybody else was scared. So you think maybe this is a similar thing where everybody else is scared? I don't know what it is. I'm just
I
asking.
think that they're scared.
But if they're scared,
But
then maybe
you've
that's
been
why I'm saying so.
insinuating Jay-Z a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you've been saying people gonna come for him a little bit.
No,
You've been
I thought he would do funky stuff like the Super Bowl. Like it was not okay for me to be at the Super Bowl.
Oh, he tried to cut that.
Yeah, he didn't want me to. Well, they worked to make like there was an issue with me in the NFL that doesn't exist.
So he did the corporate way of
Yes.
trying to keep you down. Oh, it's
doing
not me. It's not.
It's them. And then when M says he's not gonna do it if I'm not there, then
Let's go.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know,
That's what
But
I'm
what's
talking
your
about.
and Jay's issue?
it's just competitive stuff. for
It's
the
really
music.
just
This is
competitive.
what I'm saying. When it gets past actual art, like actual music, and you're trying to block something that's in business, then it feels weird. It feels like we should be having beef.
Oh,
Okay.
So
I can
that's the
see that.
behind the scenes thing that we don't see. It's
Yeah.
one thing when there's like people talking about each other in music.
Yeah.
But there's behind the scenes business deals that a guy is getting involved with on the side, and it's not like you're gonna go public and be like, they tried to stop my vitamin water.
Yeah, or this deal, and you go, he said that to you, like.
Okay.
wow.
I get that.
Like they'll speak to your temperament. Like say, you know, if 50's a little crazy, he'll say anything. You see what saying anything did to Kanye.
So they're trying. He's basically trying to scare
Yeah,
people out of
out
doing
of
deals
doing
with
it.
you. Interesting. And then M shut it down, and he was like, "Yo, it's got to
I'm
happen."
not. If he's not coming, I'm not coming. And then it changes the whole thing because he really is the biggest one.
Yeah.
Like you know, they can say what they want.
Yeah, no.
But when we go to the stats, the actual
Numbers don't
They know the
lie.
numbers.
Yeah, he's the
And that was
biggest
before
one.
the days of
And-
the bots and all that shit.
There's a you know, M obviously speaks with you with high praise, but there's a few videos that I see, and everybody talks about how funny you are. They talk
Didn't hold back, not even a little. They didn't sugarcoat, didn't dance around the truth, didn't give polite little hints. They went straight for the center of the storm and ripped the mask off a figure who had spent years convincing the world that the mask was the face. And once that mask fell, everyone finally saw what had been sitting underneath the entire time, a world built on fear, on control, on manipulation, on carefully orchestrated illusions that had been maintained for so long people forgot they were illusions in the first place. The internet didn't just react, it erupted, exploded, set itself on fire, timelines flooded, comments poured in by the thousands. People who once defended the figure suddenly stepped back. People who once stayed quiet started speaking up. It was like someone hit a switch that illuminated every shadow that had been hiding the truth. And the truth wasn't gentle. It wasn't quiet. It was brutal. It was disturbing. It was the kind of truth that forces you to rethink every moment you ever watched unfold in public. Because once you see what's underneath, you can never go back to believing the facade.
Talk about, obviously, the album's all the success, but like Eminem specifically talks about your rapping skill a lot.
Yeah.
Does that mean a lot? I'm like,
It does. Like, you know, so look, he never left that part of the creativity. Like, he would go back. When you don't see him, he's back. He's in his regimen of the studio.
yeah.
And this is why, like, he kind of, they can't, you can be as good as him, but you can't really beat him at that. Because you have to put all your energy there.
And you're just not going to do it. Once these guys get famous, they leave the studio.
And they go, and the thing that makes him feel good is yo, you heard what I did last night? And it gives him that again. So if that's really what's driving you, it's really tough to be better than. And some of them may have a gift. It may be a God-given talent that they can rap the way we speak, but they don't work as hard as him. It's like Kobe Bryant was outperforming people because he would work harder, conditioning himself to do it. And other than him, I don't think nobody's.
Who's the most talented rapper you've seen, period? Just talent, natural born.
Maybe Craig G. Like, when an artist can freestyle, like, without thinking about anything, and it just all falls in line and sing. Sometimes they can end up rapping it's so easy for them that they don't know exactly what to rap about. You see what I'm saying?
Technically, it's good.
And even Eminem, because I remember those freestyles where they would just give him a word and he just has to
go.
You can do that too.
Yeah.
You can go.
But you're right. Sometimes you miss like the connectivity with the music. Like, there's songs, there's comedy where it might not even be like the most perfect joke, but it makes you feel the thing.
Yes.
It's raw. And that's better to you.
That it connects. Yeah. Like, you know, and look, a lot of times, if there's no truth to it, it's not funny.
Yeah.
It has to have some sort of connection that's grounded in truth, but it's almost a warped perspective being offered by the comedian. The timing, the way it comes in. And I look at it, I'm like, yo, that's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Like, you know, and you see things like the white party be there and then they have a little baby like in a sandwich. Like, they're hugging him from the front and the back and stuff. And I'm like, yo, get off of him. That's one of my favorite new artists. Like, yo, get off him. I don't want him going to those
What's up with the
parties.
hugging pictures at the white party, though? What is that?
I don't know, bro.
Every picture is a little
Why is
bit...
everyone so happy to be there? I'm like, this regular parties, people don't just hug each other.
You had
like,
to sit in 4 hours of traffic
like
to
5
drive
minutes. Come
to
on, let's have a group hug. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, hug, I'm going to shake your hand. Hey, what's up, man? Everything good? Yeah.
It does feel control. Yo, hold on, baby. That's crazy.
I'm telling you, it was too much fun.
That's crazy.
It was a little too much fun.
That's just white boy shit. That's why it's the white party.
Yeah.
It is the whitest party.
I was too happy to have him there. Too happy to have him there. And then, baby,
what is going on in the one on the right? That is insanity.
Dude, that's just
both of them. He looks like he's unzipping his pants. Look at the one on the left.
Come on.
No,
this is bad.
Yeah.
This is bad.
Do you call him? Will you call him? And be
Every detail that came out hit harder than the last. This wasn't just about shady behavior. This wasn't just about mess or chaos or typical behind-the-scenes drama. This was about a world built in darkness, a world maintained through intimidation, a world where people disappeared from the spotlight not because they wanted to step away, but because they were pushed out, locked out, forced out. A world where power wasn't just a resource, it was a weapon. And the person at the center of this world wielded it with calculated precision, making sure no one ever questioned what was happening behind the walls. But walls eventually crack, and when they do, everything trapped behind them floods out. And that's exactly what happened. The footage began circulating quietly at first, a grainy clip here, a blurred image there. People weren't sure what they were looking at, just that something was wrong, very wrong. And then suddenly the context dropped, and the entire internet froze. These weren't random leaks. These weren't coincidences. These were pieces of a puzzle that someone had been collecting for years.
Now, Combs' trial is expected to last another month at least. He's charged with racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty. Join us now to talk more about the trial of Sean Diddy Combs and everything that's going on inside the courtroom is Afi Patterson, civil and criminal defense attorney. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. We're focusing on what was a minor moment in the grand scheme of everything we heard in the trial this week, but there's this anecdote that Capricorn Clark told about related to 50 Cent, but what Diddy allegedly told 50 Cent's manager at MTV during her time of working for Diddy. What did you make of that? Sean Combs saying, I don't like the back and forth, but I like guns.
I think it goes to the overall case. They've been saying that Diddy was a dangerous guy. If he made a threat, he could back it up. And I do recall reading that she said that his demeanor was very, very serious. And knowing his history, his violent history, knowing about the beef between Biggie and Tupac, I think that it probably frightened her. And I think that just again, her knowing about his violence, his propensity for violence, his behavior with her, his behavior with Cassie, his behavior with other employees, he's just continually in reinforcing that violence. So I think it was a really good moment for the government.
Yeah, it's just, and it seems like there are these little moments along the way where there are some celebrity names that pop up. This case, it was 50
Mhm.
Cent. We heard earlier in the trial, Usher and Neo were at a dinner where Cassie was allegedly assaulted. It was unclear whether they saw that, but it was said that they were there. As far as the history of 50 Cent and Diddy, do we know how it started? I know that 50 Cent had a diss track, I think around 2006, claiming that
Mhm.
Sean Combs knew who killed Biggie Smalls. But is there a particular incident that happened that made 50 Cent just seem to really start to come at Sean Combs?
I don't know what's ground zero for them. I've seen, interviews that 50 has given saying that it's all business with them. I know they both have alcohol lines, and I know, they're both from New York. I think 50 is maybe from Queens and Diddy is from Harlem. I don't know what their ground zero is, but I know that since this since this all came out, 50 has not stopped. He's been taunting Diddy online. You, of course, know about the documentary. I believe it got picked up by Netflix, and he is supposedly donating the proceeds to victims of domestic violence. Diddy has had his knee on his neck and his foot to the gas on Diddy for a while, but again, I don't know where it started.
Yeah, I mean, 50 Cent, for many people, if it was ever, there was an anecdote that came out that someone had said, oh, I like guns when talking about it back and forth, it might scare you. 50 Cent was at the Knicks Pacers game in Indiana with a free Diddy t-shirt on, sitting courtside the next day.
Was he?
It's different. It was, yeah, it was different.
Mhm.
I look back and we aired a bit kind of leading into this interview, a clip from the Breakfast Club. It was 2018 and Diddy was on the show and they asked about the issues that he had with 50 Cent. And he said, there's no issues. I love him. He loves
Mhm.
me. He was kind of joking about it. And then you hear these stories that come out, whether it's this one specifically
Mhm.
about 50 Cent or just in general, the picture that's being painted by the government in this trial. For you, has kind of the image of Sean Combs and who you thought he was, has it changed during the course of what we've seen over the last couple of weeks?
Waiting for the perfect moment to expose. And the moment arrived. Once the pieces were aligned, the full picture was horrifying. Behind the glamorous curtain lay a world built on fear. A world where those around the central figure lived on the edge of paranoia. A world where secrets were currency, and those who knew too much became liabilities. The internet watched as layers peeled away, each one revealing something nastier than the last: coercion, manipulation, hidden deals, unspoken threats. The kind of behavior that turns your stomach the moment you realize how long it's been happening. People who once looked untouchable suddenly found themselves drowning under questions they were incapable of answering. Every statement sounded hollow, every denial sounded rehearsed, every quiet pause felt like an admission. And the more they stayed silent, the more the public started filling in the silence with their own conclusions. It didn't help that more and more individuals began stepping forward, not directly, not openly, but through cryptic posts, subtle hints, old interviews.
Certainly over the course of what we've seen, but I think I've seen an interview where 50 said, if you want to go nowhere, go to Diddy. If you're ready for your career to die, go to Diddy. It's long been rumored that Diddy didn't necessarily treat his artists properly, and if you look through his roster of artists, you'll see a lot of individuals whose careers probably started off really, really well, but they ended up with no money. That's long been the rumor. There've been rumors of abuse by Diddy toward Cassie and toward Kim and some other women as well. Even when he was at, I think Uptown is where he originally started. So there have always been rumors, but nothing really solidified and verified like we've had in this trial. It's been awful. I think it would be awful for anyone. I don't think his reputation is in the business world certainly will never recover. And even if he's found not guilty, his name is mud. I don't think that it's recoverable. I think everybody is extremely shocked, especially just some of the sexually explicit things. We have a huge morality issue in America. So anything that's like a little deviant is just not going to be really good for you. So I think everybody's a little shocked. I'm a little shocked and appalled and horrified, and I think a lot of people are. But this is not what we knew. We knew some things weren't right, but we didn't know just how wrong they were.
And I feel like we just knew because I mean we all grew up, whether it was some of the roles he had in movies, and I mean he was everywhere, and then his brands were everywhere, and it's like Making the Band was such like a hit show on MTV back in the day. And there's that famous scene where he has all the contestants walk to Brooklyn to go get, I think it was Junior's cheesecake, and he's yelling at people. And then it seemed like everyone around him in any documentary that he did, it was like, oh, that's just Puff because he's always just so angry. And then it's just this whole other level in the trial where it just, as an attorney, I mean, how effective has the government been, as you just read, and we can only read transcripts really and kind of hear from the people we have in the courtroom, but just at this point, how effective has the government been in painting the picture of this isn't just someone who was a domestic abuser, this isn't someone who was just a mean boss, but this was a racketeer who was running a criminal enterprise.
Yeah, and I think the forced labor issue. I think they've done an excellent job with that. With the transcripts I've been reading, a lot of the people are saying that they worked for 20 hours. Like that's the magic number, 20 hours straight. They, on a good day, we heard you'll get 4 hours of sleep. On a bad day, you'll get 4 hours of sleep. I think one of the what is it? A bodyguard said, if you sleep, you're getting fired. Like it was more rhythmical or rhythmic than that. I don't know, but you couldn't sleep around him, and I think that's what we saw with Making the Band. But again, we really didn't believe it. We thought it was for entertainment purposes. We didn't think someone could really act like this. And if an employee gave any pushback, uh, they would either be terminated or they'd be threatened with reputational damage. They would be threatened with being blackballed, or they actually would be blackballed. And I think the government is doing an excellent job of proving forced labor.
And on that forced labor part, because on one hand, and I found it interesting, like George Kaplan, who is a former personal assistant for Diddy, like detailed all these, witnessing the abuse. He said,
surfacing where the tension was suddenly obvious. It all connected in a way that felt eerie, like everyone had known something was off for years but couldn't quite articulate it until someone bold enough finally laid out the entire blueprint. The internet is brutal, but it's also observant. People started digging into old clips, old photos, old interactions. Suddenly moments that once seemed harmless turned sinister. Body language that felt casual now felt coerced. Smiles that looked genuine now looked forced. And the deeper the digging went, the more the unease grew. But the most chilling part wasn't the reactions, it was the anticipation. Because once the first wave of revelations hit, everyone knew there had to be more. Secrets like these don't exist in isolation. They come in clusters, they come in patterns, they leave trails, and people started looking for those trails, following them into darker corners that the mainstream world had never bothered to examine. More files leaked, more footage surfaced, more whispers came out of the shadows. The central figure's empire
of Cassie, and then he was someone who would start work at 9:30 in the morning, and I think he said sometimes he went home at 7 o'clock in the morning the next day, and that's just what it was like. And he still, at the end of his testimony, said something along the lines of, he respects Diddy as this business person. In the eyes of the law and in this trial, what's the line between, well, this was a guy who just worked his employees really hard, to the point of where it was a forced labor issue where he was breaking the law?
So I think the perfect forced labor issue is I think Mia's testimony that we read through today, and I think it's really easy for someone to say, well, hey, why don't you just leave? Well, one of the elements with forced labor is if you leave, you're threatened with reputational damage, you're threatened with being blackballed, you're threatened with psychological manipulation. So I think that's a perfect example with respect to Kaplan's testimony. I think the what was so important is when he said toward the end of his testimony, I believe, that did he call him a god amongst men? Well, how did he become a god amongst men? Did he use his enterprise? Did he use his influence? Did he use coercion? Did he use threats? Did he use violence to become a god amongst men? So I think, whereas a lot of people may think that that was really flattering toward Diddy, I thought that that was more damaging than anything because of what he did to become a god amongst men. Does that make sense to you?
No, it does. And that's an interesting way to look at
Yeah.
it, because at the end of Kaplan's testimony, we did a show specifically, and I found it interesting because, like, really in the grand scheme of all the witnesses, George Kaplan's probably by the end of this, someone that we may not even remember his name. But I just found it interesting where he was worked so hard. He was cleaning up the hotel rooms, and talked about all the baby oil and stuff that he was cleaning up in the hotel room. So you're just like, what kind of job is this? And then at the end, he's still like, yeah, it was almost, he was trying to be complimentary. But you look at that and you're like, the view that people had of Sean Combs within Bad Boy and Combs Enterprises, it was beyond, it felt like a boss, because there's still this, like, I need to give him a compliment at the end of the testimony. From the defense's side, they have tried to say, well, hey, Sean Combs, the video from 2016, yeah, it's bad. He was, this is domestic abuse. It's not a domestic abuse case. This is a racketeering, sex trafficking case. As a criminal defense attorney, to this point, how have they been doing in trying to score points for Sean Combs after some really difficult testimony that the government's putting forward?
I think they've been making some good objections. I think that they've been doing the best they can. I was shocked that they didn't cross-examine Cassie's mother, which I thought was extremely damaging testimony. But I think they're doing exactly the best that they can with what they've got. I think that Diddy ran a campaign, or at least this is what the government is showing us, that he ran a campaign of psychological warfare. You can tell in the type of people that he hired. A lot of people have testified that if they left, they didn't have really many resources. They may not have had the parents or the spouse or the background to help them do other things within the industry. So, and I think he did that on purpose with his hiring practices. And again, it was just a reign of terror and psychological warfare. I think the defense, they're just doing the best they can. They're poking little holes in people's memories, which to me it really doesn't matter. The fundamentals are what matters. If you can't remember whether somebody had on a yellow shirt or purple shoes, like
once impenetrable, now looked like it was held together with tape. And every new leak tore away another strip of that tape until the entire structure started collapsing under the weight of its own history. You could feel the panic from the outside, desperate damage control attempts, random statements that didn't align, sudden disappearances from the public eye, strange inconsistencies. The online world clocked every movement, and the more they watched, the more obvious it became that the situation was out of control. The figure at the center wasn't just being accused, they were being exposed. And exposure is permanent. Exposure doesn't get undone. Exposure spreads like wildfire, burning through anything that once protected you. And the eruption online only intensified when the person who started it all released the final piece, the one file, the one clip, the one piece of evidence that shifted everything from rumor to reality. When that dropped, the internet didn't just react, they detonated. Forums crashed, comment sections overflowed. People couldn't believe what they were seeing, not because it was surprising, but because it confirmed everything people had feared was true. The clip showed a world of absolute control, not just influence, not just power, control. A system built so tightly that no one could move without permission. A system where people weren't associates, they were possessions. A system where everyone knew their role, and stepping out of it came with consequences. The atmosphere in the footage was suffocating. You could feel the tension behind every glance, every movement, every breath. The environment looked more like a fortress than a home. more like a command center than a place of comfort. The empire built over decades was dissolving publicly, piece by piece, in front of millions of viewers who had once cheered for it. And the irony was impossible to ignore. The same online world that elevated the central figure was now tearing that legacy to shreds. But what made this entire collapse so compelling wasn't the scandal. It wasn't the secrets. It wasn't even the leaks. It was watching the illusion shatter, watching the curtain fall, watching the truth rush out, watching the public finally see the reality that had been buried under years of carefully curated image building. And the internet isn't forgetting this. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Because once truth comes out, it leaves a permanent mark. And nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever erase what was exposed.